On October 15, 1997, NASA launched the Cassini space probe on top of a Titan rocket and sent it towards Saturn. The probe went into orbit around Saturn years later in 2004. Well, as of the recording of this video in 2015, the probe is still there, taking pictures of Saturn and its moons. It has enabled many interesting discoveries, including finding a vast underground liquid water ocean in one of Saturn's moons. But one of the most puzzling moons in Saturn's system is Iapetus. For example, it has a huge and unexplained crest or ridge around its equator, and it also has a large black splotch on one side that appears to have been caused by a debris wave from a planet that was located where the asteroid belt is today. A planet that exploded, which is another story for another day. However, possibly the most enigmatic element of Iapetus can be found in one of the pictures that the Cassini spacecraft sent back of a crater on that moon's surface. On the edge of this crater is what appears to be an anomaly. It looks like a set of structures, a facility of some sort, with some apparent structure having curved and even circular edges on the top, and curved sides. There is even the appearance of what seems to be a huge set of steps on one side of the anomaly. Let me tell you now that the anomalous element in the NASA picture that looks like a man-made facility on Iapetus is the focus of the remote viewing study that I am presenting to you today. We found out what it really is, who built it, and what it was used for. Keep listening and watching as I tell you the entire amazing story. Let's begin by taking a close look at this anomaly on Iapetus. Notice that the anomaly is located near the wall of a large crater. Take a look at the shape of the anomaly. Look at the curved exterior and the circular tops of what appear to be structures. Now take a look at what appears to be steps on the side of the anomaly, which I do not think are actually steps, but which are definitely strange given the location on Iapetus. This image undoubtedly has a higher resolution version. After all, orbiting spy satellites have long been able to read the label on a baseball on the ground from a great many miles away in space. But the version of this image that was released to the public has a much lower level of resolution, so we have to improve what we have in order to see the anomaly more clearly. First, let's add some contrast and sharpening. This helps further define the anomaly to some degree, but we can get a much better idea of what we are dealing with if we allow an artist to do what is called median sharpening. Median sharpening is done by an artist who looks at fuzzy areas in the image that separate contrasting colors, say black on one side and white on the other. These fuzzy areas are typically gray due to the blending characteristics of compression algorithms that are used to lower the image's resolution and thus its file size. Now the artist then draws a line exactly down the middle of the fuzzy parts that separate the dark and light areas. Then the artist completely colors in the parts of the image on each side of the line according to whether or not that side is on the dark or light side of the line. This eliminates the fuzziness that blends the dark and light areas of the image while maintaining the integrity of the dark and light areas. This is essentially a manual method of increasing the contrast of the image while sharpening the edges that are visible in the image. Now, let us apply median sharpening to our image. Again, the dark and light areas are separated and filled in so as to make the edges between those areas sharp, thereby eliminating the fuzziness between the dark and light areas. Well, as you can see, the outline of the apparent facility on Iapetus becomes much more clearly visible. We can enhance this further by letting the image flip back and forth between the original version and the version with median sharpening applied. Here you can see exactly what was done to sharpen the image while comparing this to the original. This was enough for me to decide that a remote viewing project would be worthwhile for us to determine what this anomaly actually is. Let me tell you now how we conducted our remote viewing research. I am Courtney Brown, and I am the director of the Far Sight Institute, a nonprofit research and educational institute dedicated to the study of the phenomenon known as remote viewing. The Institute is the most well-respected venue for large public studies using remote viewing, as it is performed using methods that were developed by the United States military and used for espionage purposes, or methods that are derivative of those procedures. Remote viewing is a real phenomenon, even though mainstream science and the media have been slow to recognize it as such, and the U.S. military is not going to tell anyone if they still use it, even though, in my mind, they most certainly do. Militaries keep secrets. It is what they do. But we are a civilian organization, and our mission is to inform the public about the science of remote viewing, as well as to describe what we discover using the phenomenon. For those of you who want more background on the subject of remote viewing as it is done using military or military-derived methodologies, I suggest that you visit the website for the Far Sight Institute, where you can find a huge quantity of high-quality scientific studies using remote viewing. There you will find peer-reviewed published research, a wide range of fascinating topics and projects, as well as a great many examples that you can peruse. In the middle of 2014, I enlisted the help of two gifted remote viewers who are among the best on the planet currently to work on this new project, Dick Algier and Daz Smith. To avoid mental contamination due to memories or imagination, all remote viewing must be done totally blind. Again, that means that the remote viewers are never told anything about what they are supposed to perceive. They were only told with a non-leading email that there is a new project, together with a request that they remote view for it. This Iapetus project is actually the second part of a three-part series that we call Remote Viewing the Aliens. The first part focused on the so-called face on Mars that exists in the Cydonia region on that planet. And the third part addresses the famous episode of the Phoenix Lights. Each of these parts are presented in separate video documentaries. And now, let us see how well our remote viewers did. Remember that these remote viewers were totally blind to all the targets and the nature of the project when the sessions were recorded live on video. They did not know that the project dealt with anything of a potential extraterrestrial nature. They did not know that the target involved Iapetus. When you are watching these remote viewing sessions, there will be great tension because you will know what the viewers are supposed to be describing while you are watching. But remember that they did not know what you know. You will need to remind yourself of this from time to time when you see how accurately these remote viewers describe these targets and their verifiable elements. We begin with Dick Algier's description of this anomaly on Iapetus as it exists in the current time. Later, both he and Daz Smith shift their perceptions to the past when the anomaly was in its prime state. Remember, what you are about to see is real. You are witnessing the most recent and cutting-edge research in the scientific use of highly refined consciousness to explore our own solar system.
So at S3, I basically have 3 or 4 land gestalts, and that's mostly what I'm getting at this target is gestalts of land. Not real exciting, although geologically a little bit interesting. So I'm going to look at each land gestalt in turn, beginning with land 1. So this is 6NBM-2MYL land 1. So this is the first land gestalt that I've looked at in my work. And this is sloping, jagged, steep land, I would say mountainous, cliff-like, almost similar, not unlike, not exactly like, but not unlike, the rim of the Grand Canyon. But I see, and this should be brown, stripes of, like, what's the word I want? Strata. So in this landform, this has been either weathered or upheaval or worn away. There are darker layers within the rock, within the land. So almost like, exposed different geologic eras are exposed there in the rock. But other than that, it's just pretty much land. It's sloping and craggy. Sounds, nothing, very still, quiet. This is the land that time forgot. It's just there. I don't hear wind or animals or insects. A great overpowering stillness right now. Just a sense of geology, eons, strata, timelessness, a couple million years. I don't get a sense that it's changed much recently. I don't get a sense of volcanism or earthquakes or significant erosion or weather. It's just there. It's big, it's vast. I don't see any people. I don't sense any structures. It's an exposed mountain. So that's land one. That's all I get for that. If this were a national park, and it's not, but I would dub this the most inhospitable place park, where you would look, but you couldn't really walk through this. It'd be tough. So as I'm looking at this aspect of land, I'm in a place where there's a ridge of like boulders and crevices. This is a lip. This is a rim, a crater rim, a lip. It's an overlook, but it is a lot of ragged, jagged, boulder type. There are crevices and fissures, and then off in the distance, it's overlooking. So I'm up here looking down on what looks to be a vast, many kilometers away. There might be something, landforms in the distance, but they're way many miles off onto the horizon. This is a flat area, like a lake bed. Yeah, like a dry lake bed, a desert. And littered on it, I see a lot of things like rocks. So it's flat, but there's a lot of stuff strewn on it. Okay? So I'm on a this looks like chunks of debris or something. So I'm overlooking this off in the horizon. This is flat. This is flat like desert, lake bed, seabed, but no water. It seems dry, arid, rocky, sandy, dusty. But these chunks of things are heavier, and they have a metal content, like I'm holding hematite. This is much, it has a density like that, like they would be iron, some kind of something oxide, like pieces of a meteor. They're jagged, uneven, but just littered all over the whole place. So they have a kind of a metallic content. The sounds here again are just stillness, quiet, solitude. Beyond solitude, a void, just devoid of sounds, activity, motion. I think I could come back to this place years from now, a decade ago, 3 decades, 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, and it hasn't really changed significantly. Okay, so I'm overlooking this craggy lip. It's a rim that stretches around. I don't know, I don't want to call it a crater, but it has a lip. You're up here, you're looking down. It would be, it's hard to tell with the vastness of this, the scale, but this is higher, and this is looking over a wide expanse with a lot of metallic rocks littering the place. And I don't know why we care about this. You know, maybe there's something I should be perceiving beyond this. But there's a couple other land aspects I want to look at, so we'll look at those. Since all I'm getting so far in this target is land, 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 static, hard, simplex land, I'm trying to get a foot into something that, why do we care about all this land? So I'm looking at another land gestalt. If I vary my orientation, I get a good visual of this land, which is very steep. These are cliffs. There's a That's the bottom of the valley. Very very steep, narrow. This would be like, the shape is reminiscent of a valley in the Swiss Alps, but I don't get an alpine feel to it. I haven't sensed any vegetation. No, I get rocks, dusty, rocky smells, hard, crumbling, jagged, etched, craggy. How would this gorge get made if not by water and erosion? But I don't get a sense of water or erosion, but how could this be? Okay, well, that's a mystery to me how this would be. This seems orbiter. Something, picture taken by an orbiter. So there's somebody doing photo analysis of what I'm seeing. Again, there's a metallic content to this, but it's just this is just a steep gorge somewhere. I don't know what's so interesting about that. There's some big land here. This is I'm going to draw this color. This is a darker brown. I'm not getting greens or that's a big that's a big mountain. That's a big sloping, steep place. And then this is big. That's not a structure, is it? No, that's land. There is land that's been okay, this is a Okay, let me explain this. There's a big mountain here. It seems more symmetrical than the other landforms I've looked at. It's a big, brownish grayish rock face, craggy. It's smoother than the other land I was looking at, but it's big, it's imposing, it's majestic. That's the word I want. Okay, so this is a majestic, I can't spell when I'm in this state. This is a majestic landform, like you'd come take a picture of that. Like Ayers Rock in Australia. It's taller than that. It's not as smooth, but it evokes a kind of similar feel. So there's this big, steep, imposing, majestic rock formation here. And then there's a smaller hill down here. And this, I get a sense that this was man-made, altered, terraformed, not like bulldozed, but somehow maybe made to be a complementary to this, like a smaller version. So this is a rise. This is a hill at the base of this big rocky cliff, and there's I drew it too big. There looks to be a structure. This is the first man-made thing I'm getting man-made, or maybe not man, artificial. Okay, it was constructed. I don't know if it was constructed by humans. It may be someone else. It might be artificial. But the point is that this landform here, bear with me, I'm struggling with this. This landform here is smaller. It's been altered in some way, and then there is the size would be, I drew it too big. There's something like ruins, like an old castle there. This is a structure, but the structure is not intact anymore. It would be something you'd look at and it blends in, and then the photo analysts, the people on the internet would, hey, that's a structure. Look, can you see it's a structure? People say, no, that's just a pile of rocks that looks like a structure. But I think that's why I'm looking at this target. That's the only thing that's got me saying, like, hey, what's this? So it's in decay, in decline. It's older than time. Yeah, a million years. So this might not be Earth, or Earth at a much different time. This has my sense of time I can't work out. It just feels distant past. When it was built, this would be more current time. Currently, it just blends in. It's a ruin. It's rubble, but it had something going on a while ago. So I think this is what we're trying to look at, is what's this in this vast land. So I'm going to shift now, go back and try and look at this when it was happening. Okay, this will be a challenge.
Dick also drew a colorized, painted version of one of his whiteboard sketches of the crater wall. This colorized version helps give us a better idea of what he actually saw, since remote viewers can see in color. As you can see, the verifiable elements of the target as shown in the video session are precisely described by Dick Allgaier, all done while he was totally blind to the target or the nature of the project. There can be no ambiguity as to what he is describing. This is clearly not New York City or Hawaii or the Eiffel Tower or Washington, D.C. His descriptions exactly match the target location on Iapetus. Again, we are laying the groundwork for the sessions where the anomaly on Iapetus is perceived in its optimal state in the ancient past. So, what you are doing now is crucial to you understanding what we will soon show you. Also, after Dick had finished all of his remote viewing for this project, and after he had been told the target for this project, he observed that two of his sketches that he did for his preliminary work using paper and pen were actually parts of a panoramic view from the surface of Iapetus. He then decided to construct a single colorized version of these sketches, which I think is interesting for you to see. Again, these color paintings were not done while still blind to the target, so they are not, strictly speaking, remote viewing data, but they do match images that were clearly sketched out during the normal paper and pen remote viewing sessions. And they add some color that was not possible to do when remote viewing. Perhaps it is best to let Dick Allgaier explain this himself.
When I did the first sessions on paper for the preliminary part of this project, I got a very clear and detailed visual of a rocky area overlooking a large lake bed, or I said it might be a crater. I referenced and labeled this as Land 2, and this is an original pen drawing from that session under completely blind solo protocol. And then, again, in the paper and pen session, I was drawn to the air. There was something up there that was brilliant, bright, beautiful, glowing. Separate from land, I looked to the sky, and again, I was hit with a clear visual. This looked like the curve of a planet. But I was confused because of my vantage point, my point of view. I was looking up from land, but there was this huge planetary orb right in my face. I noticed and drew a glowing shape around it. Again, this was all done blind. So when I was given feedback, it finally all made sense. I was standing at the lip of the crater, and above me, right there, was the planet Saturn with a ring. I colorized it and enhanced it a bit, and I can tell you from firsthand experience, the view of Saturn from Iapetus may be the most beautiful sight in our solar system.
To complete the picture of the anomaly on Iapetus as it exists right now, let's look at Daz Smith's session, where he also examines the anomaly on Iapetus in its current state. You will see a great deal of overlap between both Dick's and Daz's sessions. After you watch this, I will then show you what Dick Allgaier and Daz Smith saw on Iapetus when they shifted their consciousness to the ancient past. But again, first fully appreciate the accuracy of the sessions for the current time. Only then will you be able to fully accept what they discovered about that anomaly when it was a facility that was in active use by real people. Also note that some of Daz's videos are in black and white, while others are in color. This is interesting in that it emphasizes how we do all of this without outside assistance. Our viewers not only remote view, but they also set up their own cameras, audio equipment, and whiteboards. They do everything, all by themselves. In this case, Daz had been using his camera to take black and white images previously, and he forgot to reset his camera to take color video. The quality of the video is fine, it is just that the black and white nature of some of it tells its own story. A story of how a few people with minimal resources sought to change the way an entire world thinks. When you see the black and white, let it remind you of how the actions of individuals still matter.
So it's target 12B. Okay, so it's a layered structure, which is hard, dense, it's man-made, it's placed, designed in place, feels sculpted, carved, feels like it rises from the land. Feels like it's made of layers to it, and then yeah, feels like a layered structure. Layers, but there's also an irregular shape to this as well. It feels like it's been damaged or weathered. It feels very old, dense. If I touched the material it's made of, it feels like it's made of a natural material, like the land itself. Hard, dense, sharp, not brittle, but yeah, hard, irregular surface, pitted. Parts of it feel weathered and beaten. Feels very old. Feels like over time, it's decayed somewhat, affected its shape. Maybe some of the edges on it were in the past sharper, but now feel a bit more weathered and rounded around the edges or damaged. The land itself feels like it's hostile and remote. There's life there as well. Okay. Let's see if we can differentiate this into time zones. Because what's happening is I am sensing more than one key time with this target. It's like I'm being asked to look at it now, but maybe its key use was a bit more in the past. So let's look at current time. Okay, so there's a structure. I feel there's an energy. It feels low level, hidden, not visual. Oh, this is strange. It feels like it's spiraling upwards. If I AOL, I would say something like, it's not radiation, but it has an effect like radiation. What do I mean by effect? It feels like it's generating a force, a field. Can't quite put this into words. So I see and feel an energy, which feels like it spirals, feels like it's moving up in a direction. But if this isn't a visual energy, it's almost like it's invisible or on a different wavelength. Yeah, on a different wavelength, not one that we can see very easily as humans. Maybe with technology, infrared or something, I don't know. It feels like it emanates from the structure. Kind of like up and out. Emanates this invisible, flowing, vibrant energy. Low level, not hidden. Hidden is not the right word, but not visible. And it's just there. It's just like, feels just like a background hum type energy. It's just like, yeah, constantly generating, self-generating, almost like it's a mechanism of some kind almost on standby. It feels like something on standby, that kind of low power, kind of perpetual, kind of waiting for something to happen type thing. I don't know what that's about, but that seems to be emanating from all around this structure. But again, it's not visual, it's just something I feel. Okay, what else do we feel in current time then? So I'll try another attempt at current time, see what we feel here. So the target will be... Okay, so there's land. This feels remote. Feels quiet, dusty. I want to say something about atmosphere, air or something. It feels different. Sorry about the spelling there. I'm different. Yeah, the land feels desolate, hostile, remote, dusty, craggy, irregular, natural. It feels like I can look in any direction, see long vista, see horizons, and in the horizons I see distant, rocky, kind of like mountainous areas. So it seems like I have a good view. The colour feels a bit muted, which is weird because this would generate an AOL here of planet. I don't know if that's right or not, but the air and the atmosphere feels a bit different, which is weird because I'm looking at current time instead of something in the past or something. Never mind. Anyway, so we have a structure here as well. And the structure is kind of definitely rises from a surface, which is land, and that's natural. And it's definitely a composed structure. It's definitely man-made. It feels like it's placed in a key location. It feels like life went out, sourced an ideal location, then planned, designed, and constructed a structure. And the location was key to the placement here. Even though it feels very remote and very hostile, very on the edge, like an outpost, way off. It feels like it's like far away, way into distance. And now it feels, because I'm in current time, I don't really see or feel any life there. It just feels owed and used or abandoned or something. It feels desolate and gone and craggy, weathered, kind of, abandoned and left. Dusty, feels like an artifact, a structure from, well, it just feels from deep past, you know. It feels like I can go, you know, I'm thinking, it can't be 10,000 years. It's thousands of years old. Feels old, ancient. So I try to move to current right now at the target, and it's there. But it feels, see, there's levels to this, layers to it, but it feels damaged or weathered. It feels like it hasn't aged well. It feels, yeah, it does feel weathered. Where once we had strong, straight, linear kind of areas, it now feels a little bit more like there are weathered corners, craggy, broken, pitted. You know, it feels like it's seen a great age to it. I can feel, you know, some of the materials, some of the structure itself feels pitted and damaged and rounded off on its corners a little bit. Yeah, definitely damaged and weathered. I don't feel there's any life there now. I still feel that there's these areas, but they feels left and abandoned. It feels like it's waiting, almost in some kind of like suspended animation, waiting for something. I don't feel there's life there now, not like there was in the past. It's not like how it was being used in the past. Maybe visited, it may be some kind of location that gets visited, but not very often. It just feels very sparse, very desolate, almost like an outpost on the edge of something, very remote, very harsh, yeah, remote location.
Now let us dive into the past. What was that anomaly originally? Who put it there and why? And what happened to it? Let's begin with Dick Algire's perceptions of this anomaly when it was fully operational.
Okay, let's see if I can keep myself glued together for this movement. This is going to be a movement exercise. I feel like this target is geologic, topographical, other planetary maybe, because I just didn't feel like Earth, or not current Earth. So I saw this remains of a structure. I saw this remains of a structure, and I'm going to do a movement exercise using the probing icon. Okay, this is Nemo. Nemo's a neuro-interrogation mask overlay. Nemo is a mirror of my subconscious. So in remote viewing, you're communicating with your subconscious. This little tool here represents my subconscious. Using NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, if I go to the left, I can recall audio. I can go up and to the left and recall visual. I can go down and to the left, probing right on Nemo, to get kinesthetic feelings. This is my subconscious giving me these things, which my subconscious knows about the target. I just need to facilitate the the communication process, and for 15 years I've been using these radials on Nemo to cue my subconscious to give me information about the target. Now, as an advanced movement, I know there's a structure in current time at this target that I saw which was falling apart and barely recognizable and very old. So using the timeline on Nemo, I can shift in time right here. I'm going to drop my audio. I hope the audio is still good. I'm going to okay, so using the timeline in this Nemo probing icon, I can start to where I've been perceiving this as a ruin and slide back to where I feel it was different. You know, I have to calibrate this to this was a long time. This is such a this was a long time ago. Okay, so okay, I found the spot. It's okay, here's that mountain form. In the rock, within this landform, I get a sense of a terrace, eagle's nest, view window. This is the penthouse suite. This is the overlook. This is the vista point. This is where it has a dramatic view. So this has been carved, constructed into the face of the rock as a your penthouse overlooking, but it's not overlooking a city, it's overlooking this broad plain of nothing, but it's so stark that it's beautiful. So this is the uppermost level. Okay, it's going to take me a while. And then down below is like a palace, the Taj Mahal, one of Saddam Hussein's palaces. It's really big. It's got tall things here, bulbous. There's many stories. This is really big. This is opulent, architecturally wondrous. Why would they build this? This is a like palace, but in a weird place because it's so stark and barren. And I keep getting a sense of somewhere if you took the St. Louis Arch, you know, why is the St. Louis Arch? Anyone from 2,000 years ago would go, what's that? why did you build that? You build it just for beauty. I mean, you can go in the St. Louis Arch. So I get an arch-like thing, but you put it at an improbable angle. So this arch is, how can I draw this? It would be like this. So that's off in the distance. The perspective is, it's like, how would this hold itself up? Wonders to see, because 100 feet, it's not that tall. It's not that it's tall. It's that there's nothing supporting it right here. So it's like an architectural wonder. I mean, how would you, I guess you could, it creates an optical, it's really cool to look at. And it's like, how does this hold itself up? It just seems floating there. And it may have purposes of, it may serve a purpose. I mean, it's beautiful to look at, but it might, like, transportation, time gate, Stargate thing. But this is connected over to the, I don't know where it is, and it's not here. It's more, it might be like this, overlooking, it's over a broad plaza. So there's a plaza here, and then there's this thing that you don't know how it could hold itself up. This whole complex, like a spa, a resort, an outpost, a base. So it's a base somewhere, but it's also like a spa resort. Like you would build it because you could. It's like Las Vegas. Why build a city there in the middle of the desert? This is times 10 of that. This is, if you build it to show that you can, that you would, we're always depicting aliens as being hive-like, not individuals, spiritual, like higher evolved egos that don't have greed, don't have envy, don't have lust, and wouldn't see who could be the richest one. But this, I get a sense of someone so rich built this in such an improbable place, like on another planet, or the most remote place in a planet. And this is not self-sufficient. There's no resources here, and that's part of the allure of it, is that how did they get all this here, and how can you have an opulent place with the finest food, the finest climate, environment in a harsh place? This place is really harsh, uninhabitable, but yet there's this opulent, lush place there, and they build it just to prove, like, I'm the richest fucking alien, I'm the richest guy, I can build a luxury resort in this most barren place, and I can bring people here, and you know, like over here, it's that vast just nothingness. dry, uninhabitable, starkly beautiful, but just creepily weird with lack of infrastructure, lack of anything hospitable to eat or grow or live. Everything has to be brought in. So this is the resort spot, the end of the universe, the end of the galaxy. You'd bring people here and say, look how nice this is. And I said there's a base, so there's a support staff. There would be beings that, keep up there's a lot of stuff that's got to come in, so they're processing things, cooking, maintaining. But this is where the elite come to, almost hedonistic, the most opulent, lush place in the most inhospitable place. The contrast is so enormous that's the point of this place. I mean, I don't see it as anything more than just being, I built it there because I could, because I'm so rich and we have the ability to do this. So what happened to it? Why is it in decay now? Because the support stuff has to be brought in. There was a war, and you couldn't maintain this without deliveries that come like a long way. And where the stuff came from, there was that stopped being viable. So this withered on the vine. There was no resupply. You couldn't. There were some people stuck here and died because the life support systems just ran out of juice, ran out of no food, the power source wound down. They weren't generating it here, and then so if it comes from like a planet way off over there, there was conflict there where war, famine, takeover, and you just couldn't maintain this anymore. So, and this was long ago. They would have had a lot of things to amuse you, but all contained within this, all contained in there. Palatial, not one palace, but a series of palaces, like multiple structures, but had these two things on either side. And outside the gate is just wild nothing. I mean, I don't get a sense that you'd go, take a drive over here. You just, well, you might, it's coming in, you would fly over the whole place. And you get a look at the starkness of like the moon, the Mars, some inhospitable place. And then we can fly over and look. And then you come around the corner and over the hill, and there's this, there it is. It's like the resort that is amazingly opulent. Like, how did this get here? And your like vacation spot. I don't know, this is all too weird. Who knows? Anything else I want to say? This would be easier if I had someone questioning me, you know, shooting me questions about this, because I don't know what I'm making up and what I'm... There's a... There's a broad plaza in here. In here, blow this up. Like a plaza, and it's got that improbable lowered arch over it. People or beings gather here, come and congregate here, socializing, entertainment. You know, this thing is like, the Great Salt Lake is, I remember being there as a kid on the shore of the Great Salt Lake. It was the salt flats. And it was this very salty lake that had nothing but brine shrimp in it. It was hot, it was salty, it was just the most inhospitable place. But they built a big pavilion there. It was called Salt Air. And people would go there to, you know, soak in the water, thinking it had health benefits. So there may be some, I said spa, some perceived therapeutic reason to come to this place. It has to do with, you know, I keep drawing, in this target, I keep drawing this broad place with metallic bits. What's the word? Magnetic. So there may be like, you go to the desert, you go someplace to be near the water or be near the environment. There may be something in, and I get a sense of the air is ionized, like not oxygen, exactly a different atmosphere. This may be it could be a damn health spa on top of all the other things. Is like, who knows why you would build such a thing? I don't get like a military base or conquest or scientific observation. It's like, why would you build a castle in the most, on another planet where it's, just because it's so stark. That's the only, that's all I can come up with on this, why they did that.
Now let us finish with Daz Smith's perceptions about the anomaly on Iapetus in the ancient past. Many of Daz's perceptions match those of Dick Algire, but some of his perceptions extend in a different direction. This is why we like to use at least 2 gifted remote viewers in our projects. It allows us to gain a more complete picture of a target.
So I'm going to try to visit the target in the past. Okay, there's life. Smaller. I would say smaller than me. Darker. Simple clothes. One piece. Clothes. Simple clothes. Dark complexion. Skinny. Thin or athletic. Oh, they're very focused in and around this structure. It's important to them. And it feels like there's a community living around the structure as it's being constructed. Okay, so let's move forward a bit. As it's being constructed, let's move to it being. It's constructed now. There still feels like there's life living around it. So it does feel like a community around it. It's almost like there's a central structure. But maybe other structures as well. But these are smaller, more temporary, more like normal habitats type, dwelling type, everyday life kind of scenario. I can see people milling around in everyday jobs, but focused around this main structure, which seems very important to them. Key. Feels like a message. A visual message. Okay. Let me try to go in the past. I want to try to see some of the construction of this. Okay. So it feels like we have life. And it feels like they're working with their hands. And there's these carvings, markings, carvings. Is it a panel? It feels very regular, kind of. Almost hieroglyphical, but not glyphs. More glyphs, pictograms. So it feels like there's a life involved at the target. It feels like he's working on the target. I can feel them touching and moving and manipulating the surface material of the target themselves there. It feels like they're creating an ornate message or story. So ornate message, story, involving images, carved or placed. It feels like it's actually on the surface of the structure itself, embedded in the structure. Essentially, the structure feels like it's telling a message or a story. It feels like a story. It feels like it plays out in a sequence of carved images, but they feel very, I can't quite put my finger on, very angular in shape. Blocky, each one follows another. And it feels like there's two stories. It feels like there's a main story, a main theme, but hidden within the main theme are elements that are, if they are picked up correctly and right and in the right order, tell something else. A secondary kind of meaning. So there feels like a secondary meaning hidden within, carved, created, manipulated surface and structure of a man-made structure. It feels very ornate. This is in the past, so it feels cleaner. I can actually see that there's a lot of very angular, clean lines to this. Like, why am I always drawing things on top like a pyramid shaped? Because I do feel it rises. The structure does rise from the land, but pyramid's not the right word for this, because there are layers to it. It also extends down as well under the ground and in. So let's try to draw this a bit better. Okay, so there's a structure. It's on land and inland. The land is dry, hostile, dusty, remote, feels desolate. It's definitely natural. Craggy, long, I can see a long vista. And the structure is kind of like embedded in and on the land here. You can see in all directions all around me. As I said, it's very dark, craggy, dusty, dry, grey, brittle. Oh, I don't know, it's just very inhospitable. The air feels different. It feels like I'm up high or something, because the air feels thinner. Colours feel muted. Yeah, just not a very nice, remote kind of place, really. Let's try to get a bit more on the structure. Okay, so within the land, it feels like it's structured, and it feels like it's layered, but it also feels irregular. It feels weathered, aged. It feels like it's old, been there a long time, ancient. Yeah, it feels like there's layers. It feels like I'm looking up on layers here, and it feels like it rises out of the land. So if you were alive, you'd be looking up on it. The target also feels like it has elements that extend down through itself. These feel like there's spaces, and it also feels like there are spaces under the ground here as well. So let me try to get this in a bit more detail for you. So let's try to look a bit more at this structure, see what it is doing. Okay, so if you have a land interface, then we have what this structure kind of feels like. It just feels like layered structure here. But within the structure, it feels like it has these spaces or channels. They feel darker. Chiseled out, hollowed out. It definitely feels like a tunnel or channel within the structure itself. Now some of these, or at least one, but it feels like there's a space here as well. Feels like it extends below ground to other linear spaces. More than one. It feels like there's more than one space underground, and these feel linear, caved out, hollowed out, chiseled out, and I can feel the oppressive weight of them around me and above me, all around. Definitely more than one space. Colder, slightly damper, large spaces, very large spaces. And only a few people have been here. I say people, or only a few of the life, because I don't want to AOL on the life here. Although the life does feel humanoid. More so in the past. I don't feel there's life there now, but in the past. So we moved to the past with the life. Smaller than me. Thinner. Skinny. Or athletic. Darker skin. There's something ornate about them. Jewelry or something. Feels like there's some kind of adornment. I can't quite get it around this area, around the neck or head area. They seem to be simply dressed. It feels like a one piece kind of outfit. Maybe with shoes or something on their feet. Very simple dress though. And it's a hive of activity, especially around the target in the past. There seems to be more people around the target, and there seem to be temporary structures as well around the target. So it does feel like there was some kind of community stroke society around the main structure in the past, probably as they built it and then used it. But as I said, these structures feel smaller, more temporary, and it feels a bit like a shanty town kind of situation. Of an organised society, but the organised society is quite simple. They're just living day to day. Very, very simple against what it's like nowadays. And a few of the life get to go inside and under the structure, but not many. So only a few get to go inside, and I see them inside a kind of squarish room. So it feels like a hollowed, squared out area, and it feels like there's 7 or more, and it feels like they're males, and they feel like they're in almost like a circular arrangement here. And I can hear a noise. They're either talking, singing, or chatting. It feels quite animated, and they feel, they feel like they're involved in an activity within an underground chamber kind of thing here. And the whole thing feels quite respectful, for reverence, and this almost feels like it's a spiritual connection for the people involved. What else do they do there? What else are these structures, underground structures, used for? In the past, I feel like storage as well. Storage for knowledge. But you feel like, I want to say artifacts. But why would they be having artifacts? Is that what we call them now? It's like they're hidden. It's like a treasure chamber. I see stuff stored, and it feels wrapped, and it's kind of put there and hidden there. Hidden? Is hidden the right word? Stored, hidden, placed. Very strange. Okay, let's see what else we got on the structure then. Okay, Okay, so we have the structure. We have land, and it feels quite natural, which plateaus out. So, natural location. Dry, dusty, grey, natural. Then we have the structure. I'm just going to draw it like that. But the structure itself feels ornate in the past, and the edges feel cleaner, and it does feel like it rises from the land, so it's above the land and below the land, and these feel clean, edged, and there's life, and they feel like they're working on the structure, carving, manipulating. Feels like they're embedding, carving, writing and manipulating on the structure. It feels like they're recording a story. Story? Words? They're not words, they're quite squarish. They're like pictograms. I don't think they're hieroglyphics. They're like that, but they're not. They're more picture-like. It feels like pictures being carved or drawn on the surface of a structure that tells a story, an important story, through pictures. But it also feels like there's a secondary story. Second hidden story within the larger story. So yeah, it feels like there's something else. There's a hidden message or something within a story, which feels like it's ornately placed within the surfaces, or maybe within the entire structure itself, the actual building of the structure itself. So yeah, a structure with a message to it, and this also feels. It also feels like it has a relevance looking upwards as well. Celestial, stars or sky, stars kind of feeling to it. Kind of feels like the whole thing is pointed and directed towards the stars. The stars has the stars or the sky or above has a great influence on this target. And I also feel its location as well. Its location in the land was key. It was chosen. It wasn't randomly selected. It wasn't just like, oh yeah, we're walking along here. Here we come to a bit of land. Well, we'll stick a structure here. I feel the location. The location was not chosen. Not preordained. Something happened, an event happened for them to choose this location, and the event, something happened. It feels like something, an energy and emotion, moving downwards. It lands a meteor or something. A meteor event or a sky event. Something happened. Something in the sky happened, which led the people to this land where they built this structure, and this structure also has a connection to the sky above it. And this kind of event here feels bright. It feels like something's dropping downwards, bright. I see a brightness, I see emotion, I see an energy. It feels blue and white and it's glowing. At the same time, I feel like this energy motion event, and it feels a little bit like, I can draw it in detail. It feels a little bit like looping kind of kaleidoscope downwards. Yeah, and then the energy kind of like dissipates, almost like a plasma or something, as it bright sparkles of light blue and sparkly white energy come off of it, almost like a shot of a laser beam down, directed down towards the ground. But it's strange because it feels like this happens or happened at least once as an event before the structure was built, and it's almost like someone saw this, indicated that this is a place and a reason why a structure should be built, and that it happened. It happened again. There was another event. It feels like the structure, the land interface. We've got our structure here, which feels complex and layered. It feels like this actually may have been involved in some kind of energy event as well. Maybe that was the purpose of it, I don't know. But it feels like it happened on more than one occasion, probably before and then afterwards as well. Don't know, something from the sky came downwards before, and then something from the skies came down afterwards. It's a hard one to determine. But the structure, if you draw the land, the structure in the past feels very kind of linear. It feels like it's raised, almost like a pyramid, but it's not. But it has these levels. But it also, it also feels curved in places as well. Yeah, it has these levels. Again, internally, there are these chambers, these hollowed out areas, darker, cooler, and it feels like there's like a chamber type inside here, maybe one here as well, with another channel coming down, but that one doesn't go down underground, but this one feels like it goes under, and then more chambers, and it feels like it drops again, and then another chamber over here. So it feels like there's multiple passageways or chambers, tunnels leading to bigger, larger, darker, cooler spaces in the land. I can feel the oppressive weight above me in the land above this huge ornate structure. And in the past this was very clean edged, sharp, not like it is now. It's damaged now, older, greyer, but it was brighter. It radiated maybe even gold, maybe gold covered or textured. It was very bright, it was very ornate, it was revered. It was, the people that made it were very proud of it. It was an achievement. It was like a homage. It was a repository. It's where they put their knowledge and a message stored. But this all feels way past. I mean, we're talking deep past here. If I'm looking at past, it's like, I don't know. No, I don't know, but it's thousands of years ago. Deep in the past, ancient. It feels like a technology and a people and something ahead of its time, but way in the past, in a remote location. It's like these people travelled a long way purposely to create this structure in a far out remote place. dry, inhospitable, dusty. Not a nice place at all. The air feels different, it feels thinner. The view feels, murkier. I don't know. It's not what's the right kind of word. Muted. The colours feel muted. It feels different. Air feels different. It feels thinner. It feels like I'm up high or something. Not so much oxygen. It's very strange. And underground here, it changes again. The air feels different underneath there. It feels much more stuffier, much more heavier, cooler. Again, oppressive, feeling the weight all around you. You can actually feel the density of it. Then you can hear it as well in the sound you make when you speak and stuff. You can hear the reverb in the rock type natural material all around you. I'm not sure what else I can get on this one now. The activity in the past, it's very hard because it does seem to be almost ceremonial. I do see this group of people in one of these stone chambers, and they do seem to be involved in some kind of activity, which does seem to be spiritual or spiritual towards them, but they seem to be making a noise, humming or singing or doing something. But there's only a few of them. This looks so clean as well in the past. So angular, so big. There's a community, small dwellings, smaller ones. It's almost like they popped up. I see them around. Small dwellings with people and life and society moving around the structure. It's like the structure feels like it's a focal point. Then you move to current time, move to the future, and all these are gone. It's like they've turned to dust, they've crumbled, there's nothing there anymore. Just a big structure, but the structure is weathered and beaten and battered and a little bit decayed, and some of it feels broken. I mean, the main part of it is still there, but it's not tarnished, or it's not as bright. It feels like what was glowing and bright before, maybe gold and white and shiny in places, ornate. It's lost a lot of that now. I mean, there's still an ornateness there, but the shininess, the goldness, the brightness is just gone now. I think it's been weathered or it's aged over time. It feels like it's been battered and beaten by extreme weather, a hostile environment. And again, I do still see an interaction with this beam of blue energy that seems to focus in and on and around this structure. It feels like this is not called for or interacted with, wanted for and waited for by the life. Maybe it's something to do with an event or a ceremony, a celestial event or something. Could this be the sun's rays or something? I don't know. It feels like something from above shines down and a beam hits the structure. It glows everywhere, a feeling of energy, of motion. The people feel elated. It's like something they've been waiting for, something they've needed. Their whole purpose for being, for the construction of this. Like a two-way communication or something. I don't know. Definitely something physical though. I can see and feel the energy, the light, the beam, blue. It's like a blue laser beam shooting down and interacting with the structure and the people within the structure. But again, it's not the first time. It feels like this has happened more than once, and deep in the past. May have even been the reason for the location of the structure, why it's there. Maybe this is, waiting for this to re-happen. Okay, I think that's pretty much all I'm going to get on this. If I just do one quick thing, if I just go above the structure, see if there's anything I can get there. In the past. So we're going to move to the past and go above. So, past and above. It feels like we have a complex structure. It just feels like a complex structure, and it feels like there's lines to it, linear from above. It feels like there's more than one part. It's very structured, very linear, very sharp, glowing, new, bright. There's like, from above, it's like, wow, look at this. People around it, little people moving and living. Some people can go on top or in. Some people can go on top or in the structure. Maybe there's a hole or a tunnel or something. Maybe that's what I'm looking at. They can go inside it or something. But yeah, these people, only a few. Small group interact inside the structure, on the structure. Feels very key, they feel like they're the upper echelons of whatever they are, important or more important, revered. But they feel like there's more of a spiritual connection between them than these people or these life. But there are smaller structures here. They're solid, but they feel more temporary, because as I move forward through time, then these structures go. It's almost like they crumble to the ground. They get absorbed into the ground, and they're not there anymore.
So how can we pull all of these remote viewing data together? Well, apparently there were people in our own solar system in the ancient past who were far richer than, say, Bill Gates or Warren Buffett. And what did they do with their wealth? Well, arguably one of the most beautiful locations in our entire solar system must be on the surface of Iapetus, a stark landscape on the surface, and above, Saturn, and its unimaginably majestic rings, plus the stars unfettered by any significant atmosphere. One can only imagine that a person with essentially unlimited wealth might want to build what essentially amounts to a palace in that location, a place of such spectacular proportions that the highest level of elite would travel there to commune and to grow. This was not a place for the peasants to grovel. This was a place for the absolute highest levels of society to interact and to have a transforming experience. Of course, these people did not get to Iapetus with the chemical rockets that we use today. Obviously, alternative and very rapid methods of transportation were available to those who visited Iapetus in the ancient past. Looking at our own experiences with the so-called UFO events, it seems obvious that such methods are indeed possible, even if our governments do not currently admit to knowing about them. We can also pull the following from Dick's and Daz's remote viewing sessions. Apparently, the location chosen on Iapetus for that facility was of special importance. I am particularly intrigued by the perceptions suggesting that something descended to that location, possibly creating the crater within which the facility is located. The idea that this may have involved energy as well as a physical item such as a meteor is highly interesting, as is the idea that an ongoing energy event may have been involved in the facility's operation. Also, we now have a better idea of how this all came to an end. The idea that there was a cataclysm in our solar system, possibly a war, that disrupted planetary civilization is not new to our remote viewing studies. Something big happened, and this outpost was left to die. I even wonder that if we traveled there today, would we find the bones of the inhabitants who had nowhere to go when it all came to an end. These ideas and findings are not yet taught in schools, at least not on Earth. But fortunately, we don't have to wait for others to give us permission to see the greater reality. Do not be restricted by what the mainstream media, mainstream science, or any government or governmental agency says you are allowed to think or believe. We are free to see what we see with our own eyes and to make up our own minds. Utilize this freedom. Remember that this is part 2 of a 3-part project. If you have not currently seen part 1 regarding the so-called face on Mars in the Cydonia region, you will want to do that. And then hold on to your seats for part 3, where we finally explain what actually occurred on March 13th, 1997 in Arizona, during the incident now known as the Phoenix Lights. The truth is no longer hidden from you out there. The truth is right here for you to see now. I am Courtney Brown, Director of the Far Sight Institute. Thank you for watching.